Oh, hey there, partner. Come on in. I was just puzzling over this puzzle. You see, 2 days ago, I decided that I would challenge my old brain and make sure it was still working. And so I did this puzzle, and I think I did pretty good. It took 56 minutes to put it all together. And then the next day to see if my brain was still actually working as it should be, like learning stuff, integrating information overnight, consolidating. I actually got worse. It took 59 minutes the second time that I tried. So now I'm worried, right? Maybe I need to challenge some of my assumptions, right? Maybe I need a brand new strategy. Maybe I need to work smarter and not harder. So that's what I'm going to try to do. So while I do a time-lapse challenge to try to beat my high score, I'm going to let the omniscient narrator in the room
Hello.
tell you why he thinks that life is like a big puzzle and why that's important. Are you really omniscient?
No. I'm you, dummy.
Oh yeah. How could I forget?
Mama always said that life was like a box of jigsaw puzzle pieces. You never know what you're gonna get. My mama never said that, but I bet she would have agreed with that philosophy. So how is life like a jigsaw puzzle? Well, maybe it's kind of like this big search problem, right? And we go out and we seek out truthful bits of knowledge out in the world. And then we come home, and while we sleep, our brain tries to integrate all of that new information into a coherent whole, our worldview. And I don't know, sometimes I wonder if maybe we're organizing information wrong. Like in our public education system, because, I don't know, I just feel like maybe I didn't learn or retain as much information as I could have. Especially in classes like chemistry and history, I just felt like all those facts were like loose pieces floating around in my brain. What would happen if instead of grouping information based on the classical disciplines, chemistry, biology, history, what if we organized information around experiences? Here's an example. What if we learned about all the properties of water, its molecular structure, and how those flexible bonds lead to things like surface tension, and maybe even the physics of displacement and waves, right? And we did all of that out in the pool while we're swimming. Or maybe instead of having history classes that are based on time periods, what if we just had a class on something like revolutions, and we learned about all the revolutions that had happened throughout history, while staging a revolution in the classroom, where all the students overthrow the teacher, and then they see how things happen afterwards. So, I don't know, maybe there's no perfect way to categorize information, but life is a hard puzzle. Some people rate puzzles on a difficulty scale from 1 to 10. Well, maybe life is a level 11 puzzle, or maybe it's an infinitely difficult puzzle. Is there a way to make it easier?
Stop the clock for a second. Partner, let me tell you what I'm thinking here. Normally when I do puzzles, I sort by color, because that's usually a really good way to figure out what pieces go together. This puzzle, on the other hand, is really kind of interesting. And as you can see, there are all these really unique shapes involved. And that's why this time I decided to do something totally non-intuitive and flip all the pieces face down so that I could focus on all of these weird shapes. And the theory is that since like shapes fit together like locks and keys, then maybe I will have the pieces closer together, and that might overall decrease my search time throughout the life of the puzzle. But I have spent a lot of time already, practically, 7 minutes, just sorting, so I hope it pays off, right?
I feel like some people are addicted to power. And if knowledge is power, then can't you be addicted to knowledge? And if puzzles are the search for knowledge, then can you be addicted to puzzles? I wouldn't say that I have a problem, but I definitely feel this allure, a little mini epiphany, every time I put a piece together. And it's that little snap, along with this feeling that I've done something good and that I know more than I did before. You know, maybe puzzles are this abstract representation of some of the same problems that we face in life. You know, like packing your U-Haul. I guess we didn't always have that problem. But we had similar visual challenges, didn't we? We had to remember what animals left what tracks. That's a puzzle. And solving it makes us more fit for survival. So it would make sense that our brains would incentivize that type of behavior and hit us with a little shot of dopamine. Good job, you. Why don't you do that again? So if solving things like puzzles is inherently rewarding, then why aren't more people addicted to them? I think it's because of the way the rewards are distributed. Just like when you're trying to learn a new language and most of it doesn't make sense for a long time, I think most people get this sense that they're just not making progress. But if you stick with it long enough, you start to see something amazing happen. You start to see all these little islands that form. And almost like a galaxy, it starts to grow and develop its own gravitation. And the larger the island is, the more pieces that fit into it. So there's this sort of snowball effect that happens. And it's at that point where you get all of your rewards. And that's when you get hooked. So now, isn't our worldview like this? For most of the puzzle, you'll have no idea what the picture looks like. Well, because life doesn't give you a photo reference like jigsaw puzzles do of what it's supposed to look like before you set about assembling it. But come on, the mystery is half the fun. And look, none of us should ever give up trying to put all the pieces together because knowledge is power. And if knowledge builds on itself, then that means learning gets easier and more fun over time. At least if all the pieces are in the right place.
So partner, I'm feeling pretty good. I think we're a little ahead. Although, when I look at the puzzle now, it kind of looks pretty similar to the way that I did it the last two times. I think I reverted back to sorting by color again once I flipped all the pieces over. So I wonder how much, benefit that different organization is going to give me. And there's another problem. Unlike most puzzles where the very last pieces go in really fast and the process speeds up, this puzzle, since it doesn't have a border, you kind of have to work from the inside out, and these really dark pieces that don't have much color context are actually the hardest pieces to put in, so the whole process slows down. But I think we're still in a good spot, so let's do it.
I think the one thing that everyone implicitly agrees on is that everything is connected. And it doesn't matter if you come from a scientific or a religious or a New Age background, everyone agrees. God has a plan. Every action has a reaction. We're all surfing on the cosmic vibrations of the unified fields in the fabric of space-time. Surf's up, dude. And think about it. If everything wasn't connected, then maybe we wouldn't even see order emerge from chaos. We wouldn't see forms persist, and we wouldn't be around to even ask the question, is everything connected to begin with? I think the biggest problem with trying to assemble the pieces of life into a coherent worldview is that life doesn't come pre-cut, like a jigsaw puzzle. Instead, we have to impose order. We have to draw the boundaries. And a lot of the boundaries that we draw prevent us from actually learning more about other things, right? We don't draw the pieces in ways where everything fits together. We draw some pieces in ways that don't connect to anything. And there's another problem too, because each piece is actually a puzzle itself. So if you take human anatomy, for example, You could break it into systems: the circulatory system, the nervous system, the digestive system. Each one can be broken into organs. Each of those organs can be broken into cells, and each of those cells can be broken into organelles. So doesn't that mean that life is an infinite piece puzzle? And doesn't that also mean that all of us have holes in our puzzle, in our worldview? Okay, but here is the question. Is there some human scale, some way to divide up the universe into a manageable number of pieces so that all of us could assemble those large forms in such a way that gives more of us at least some sort of feeling of closure about our place within it? Is the puzzle of life a solvable problem? Solvable in an abstract sense. You know, think Van Gogh's Starry Night.
We shaved almost 10 minutes off of our time. And look, we have to be sort of careful about what conclusions we draw, because this wasn't a well-controlled experiment, right? We have to do it over and over again and replicate it. But the only thing that I conscientiously changed was that sorting procedure at the very beginning. And so I'm tempted to say that, by putting in a little bit more time and thinking through and coming up with this creative new strategy, that even if my brain is not as young and pliable as it once was, there's still hope that, we can work smarter and not harder and come up with new strategies to improve our performance. Isn't that amazing? What was it again that the narrator was babbling on about? Do you want to tell us again why life is like a puzzle and why any of us should care about it?
Why is life like a jigsaw puzzle? I think it's because it's a search for truth. And that process, that journey, is inherently rewarding because knowledge is power. And even though it starts off hard, because everything is connected, with every correct piece we put into place, the whole process gets easier and more fun. And when we get stuck, I think an excellent strategy is to challenge our assumptions. Now, maybe the perfect solution is just well beyond our comprehension, but I'd be willing to settle for some kind of blurry outline of the major forms, some vague sense of closure before I run out of time.
So what do you think, partner? Help me out. How is life like a puzzle? And if anyone's interested, this puzzle is called Stem Cell. Pretty deep, right? The literal building blocks of life. And that sounds like a challenge to me. So if any of you pro puzzler YouTubers out there, Mr. Puzzle, Miss Karen, Sir Ramsay, if you want to beat my score and make a video about your strategy and maybe your personal philosophy or incredible insights about how life can be like a puzzle, I will mail you this one. So there you go. The gauntlet has been thrown. I had a wonderful time, partner. I'll see you again soon on The Joy of Thinking. Wait a second. Okay, that doesn't go there. Oh, okay. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah. Nice.